Hey there, Internet. I hope you're enjoying the zombie apocalypse 2020. For whatever reason, I caught the bug of these little foldable utility knife holders. And this one is called the Gerber EAB. And the first thing I'm going to talk about here, this is not screwed in because I just don't want to mess with it. But the way that this comes, there's this, what I would say is a really awful little screw. And it's not awful because it's little, and it has a nice wide slot in it. And if you really wanted to in a pinch, you could use a penny or something to pull it out. The reason it's awful is it's so small. It's just tiny. And within the first 10 minutes of me owning this particular little knife, I went to change the blade and dropped this on a concrete floor, and I literally had to spend 20 minutes looking for it. So, not great. But the good news about this is that it's really, really compact. You just put a screw in there to hold the razor blade. It's simple. It's got a liner lock right here. And it's a kind of an attractive design, and it's something you can carry around in your pocket and not really notice. It's also got what's supposed to be a money clip here. I don't know that I'm ever going to use it for a money clip. I may actually pull that off, but yeah, it's a good knife. It's solid. It's welded. There's a weld seam here to hold the liner lock in, and these pieces appear to be, I don't know if they're just cut with a hacksaw, or they might be welded together with a spot welder. I'm gonna guess the same thing here. It's it's probably just a mild steel construction. There's a copper layer underneath. I've scratched a little bit so you can see the copper, and then they electroplated something on top of it. So, I think it's a pretty cool knife, and this video is going to be about a modification that I made. But before I get into the modification, I do want to talk about the other one that I got. This is called the Outdoor Edge, and I like this one, but it just feels super cheap. I don't know really what else to say about it. I mean, it's got like a little sort of like 3/4 Phillips head, and it's got a little flat head, and I guess you can open a bottle with it if you wanted to. But this top piece is plastic. One of the reasons I got it, I was thinking I could mod it and put a new plastic piece, not a new plastic piece, but a new top piece to make it look a little better. But it's like tumbled or something on the back. It looks like zinc pot metal. The button feels really, really, really cheap, and it works. It's small, it's compact. In comparison to this, it's about the same size, so you don't get a whole lot. The other thing that I did is I bought some of these. I have one of these, the smaller kind. The blade's probably only about this high, and I really do like it. And the nice thing about this is I got a box of 12 of them, and I've just put them all over the place because I'm always losing stuff, and it's nice just to have them all over the place so that if I can't find the one that I couldn't possibly remember where I just put it 5 seconds ago, I know there's going to be a few other ones. So I bought 12 of these. I think these work really good, and the way this works is you just break this off at this little seam here, and you have a fresh tip. So I ordered these, but because of again the zombie apocalypse 2020, Amazon shipping was going to take quite a while. So I went on Thingiverse, and somebody designed this beautiful little thing, and this has a frame lock, if you want to call it that. It's a very similar design to the EAB. It's a little bit bigger. This little finger guard is a little bit shorter. It takes an M3 screw. It's surprisingly solid. I printed it in PET G, and I did print one in PLA. The problem with the PLA is that this lock does not retain its spring, so it won't actually click in. But yeah, this is pretty nice if you're in a pinch and you don't want to wait for the Amazon guy to show up. So, and you can also open this with one hand, if just like the EAB. So anyway, that's my quick overview of these little handy foldable utility knives that I got obsessed with. So here, back to the EAB again. I hate the screw. I lost the screw. I wanted something a little bit more functional, and so I did a prototype where I made this isn't actually it. This is one of the failed prototypes actually, but I made a plain old button kind of like this, and it's got a little chamfer on it, and I polished it up. This one, the thread, that I had some issues with my thread. I'll point out that the dimensions here, this is 12.7 millimeters or half an inch. This little shoulder piece is 5 millimeters in diameter, and the hole is not centered in here, so the hole is actually offset. So you got to kind of pay attention to that when you size this middle part. 5 millimeters worked out for me. I believe the shoulder is 2.9 millimeters deep, and then the threaded part is about 3.1 millimeters long. I think it's 3.1. The thing about the threaded part is these razor blades are different thicknesses. So the razor blade that the EAB actually came with was considerably thicker. I'll actually just measure them real quick. So this is like a standard size. This is 0.6 millimeters. And this is the one that came with it. And this one's almost 1 millimeter thick. So you also have to take that into account with your screw here, and the depth of your screw to see how far up that registers. Now, if it sticks out a little bit, I don't think it's that big of a deal, because when the knife is closed, it's kind of protected by the money clip. So yeah, that's the EAB, and I'm going to make one of these in the video. I'm going to show you all the different operations that I did, and then I'll show you the result at the end. So enjoy. So I'm roughing out the part on my bigger mill. I want to test out some of the changes that were made to the preload on the bearing, just as a comparison to my smaller mill. It seems to be running really good with the change, but it's hard to really say objectively. So, here I am. So I just put just a little hone and regrind on this. There was a big chip out of it. I don't know what happened. Okay, so I've reground my tool. It is tiny. I'm going to cycle start. So here it is parted. Camera's in a weird spot. It's kind of hard to see the focus here, but I think this turned out pretty good. I can rechuck it and just file some of this roughness down. This chamfer is probably good. I'm going to just nip that off with a pair of end snips and then take it over and make it flat. And then we'll chuck it up in the mill. Alright, here we are at the old surface plate. We'll just nip that off. Hit it with a file. There's still a little ring around the edge. I'm not sure if I want to just chamfer that off later. I think that's what I'm going to do. Give her a couple more real quick. I don't know if that's going to show up. It's pretty flat right now, so I'm just going to take a bit of this, which isn't as flat as I'd like, but I'm going to a little cutting oil on there. That looks pretty good. I don't think that last shot was in focus, but pick up on that. So now we'll chuck it in the mill and add a little feature to make it more turnable with my fingers. Okay, so here's my setup. I've just got my new vise incorrectly off-center clamping my really cheap rotary table. I've got an 8mm 4-flute carbide end mill, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate 60 degrees and just drive my X right in. So just have to get a little closer. I literally am almost at a table here. This is a bit hacky, but it works. So I have about, I want to say I have about 1/8 of an inch clearance there. It's really not much. So I'm going to power it up. The spindle would cooperate. I'm going to run it around 1,000 RPM. So we will pop it out of the collet. Oh, oh. So here's the first one I made out of aluminum. And you know, these angles I just really pretty much eyeballed, as well as my depth of cut, obviously. So you can see the difference here. Whereas the second one, there's an overlap. Whoops. There's an overlap that goes all the way to the center, which creates a different pattern. And these look more like wheel spokes. So there's no closed center pattern. I think I like this one better. Depth here. I think there's a difference in the thickness too. So anyway, this one was a prototype, and the surface finish came out really good. This one here, I don't know if I'm really in a high degree of focus here. This looks pretty good. So I'll take it and hit it with some Scotch-Brite in the lathe, and then we'll fit it in the old $8. So I'm just going to hit it with the file real quick. There's a few burrs. It looks pretty good now, but I'm just going to give it that extra bling on this top surface. And then I'll degrease it and stick it in the knife. It's real grippy. It's almost sharp, but yeah, it's not too bad. So we'll lap it right now. Alright, here I am. My lapping plate's nicely polished up. First time I'm using it to actually polish an item. I don't know how well this is actually going to work. So I've got the 1 micron diamond paste going on here. What I hope is an extremely flat lap. This might in fact be too small for this lap. Well, I'm not seeing any material coming off. Let's see if you can catch it. It's probably going to be hard to see. It's hard to tell with this 1 micron stuff what exactly is coming off. That's not any good. Definitely hitting those little crevices and falling in a little bit. Yeah, that's really catching the light. Let's see if I can focus in on it. Mirror finish. Never get done if I want it to be perfect. Let's see if you can pick up on doesn't quite have the same shine on the out here on these old tips, but I think that's probably okay. I'm going to call that good because there's scratches in it anyway, and that is really reflective. Alright, let's stick it in the knife and see how it looks. I sure hope it fits. Oh yeah. It's definitely easier to screw in and out. So one of the changes I made, this one, I didn't really have the patience after I screwed a couple of these up trying to get the thread to work. I didn't really have the patience to set this this shoulder right. But on this one, it looks like I'm flush with the body. Now, this is going to wear the body, and this body, again, this thing is getting, just from my pocket, is getting pretty scratched up. So it's not going to last very long. But I've noticed right away when I got it, I took the screw out and I made a little scratch in it. So I saw a little streak of copper. So this is obviously electroplated with something. So there's a base metal, and then they coat that with copper, and then whatever this top surface is what they're going to use. So this is, because it's actually flush, it's probably going to wear a circular pattern in there. But again, it's an $8 knife. I should have never spent this much time making this little button for it. But for one-handed opening, it's okay. It's not great. I've got a little excess screw that I'm going to have to file off. But you know, I think it's pretty cool. Turned out better than I expected. It took a little longer than I expected, but that's really equipment problems and not the process itself. So yeah, there it is. A little bling for the $8 knife. Nice. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope my light gets fixed sometime soon. Enjoy your isolation.